This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Hello, my name is Harriton Wadko. Welcome to our program. The topic for this program is going to be the CNG, that's the Citizens National Guard. Now, I have dedicated 1 hour of every month, that's every first Monday of every month, dedicated just exactly to the Citizens National Guard. And in case you're not familiar with it, I suggest you Google it, put it on, and participate by registering and being part of it. That's assuming, of course, that you care about our country and you are a patriot. Because if you're neither or either, wag na lang, you're just wasting everybody's time. Now, one of the things we'd like to talk about in this program actually is I posed this question to many people. How did we get to where we are today? I mean, gee, look at this. You got the president who's very popular, who's promoting, out of the many things that he's promoted during his campaign, is federalism. Terrific. And yet last week, we've heard from the Senate, a certain committee under Pangilinan, Senator Pangilinan, the academe and everybody else and all the great people who wrote the 1987 Constitution saying it is the best and blaming Congress instead for not fulfilling or amending all those sentences that were incomplete, like dynasties. Now, we've got a lot of issues ongoing. Of course, we've got the troubles with the infrastructure like MRT, which will never be fixed because as of today, the new promise is now in 2022. And when we reach 2022, it will be in 2030. I doubt I will ever see that train function properly. And talking about train, exactly where is that going? The tax on fuel, oh my gosh, perfect. As the dollar gets weaker, as the peso gets weaker, the dollar exchange goes up, and the price per barrel goes up, together with the new tax. Gee, talk about inflation. 3.5 as of just this month is going to climb. It has to. Even in the wet markets where there is no tax, it takes transportation and fuel to move things around. Are we going to sit back? Can we sit back? Of course we can. So if you are rich, but if you count every centavo, you're going to start to complain. But then again, we've got the bright kids going onto the street using placards whose ages, my gosh, don't even, I mean, they've got milk on their lips and they're already complaining about government in an institution or the very institutions that the government pays for and the very president, my gosh, that made it free. Wow, terrific UP, isn't it? But wait, hang on. Isn't that where the communists, isn't that the bed of communism? Isn't that where they're trained and they're recruited together with all of these places? Then again, I ask and I pose that question to you. How did we get to this? It's not like the Americans are better off, or the English, or even the French. The Germans, I mean, my gosh, they've got their own problems, from immigration to the Brexit and to whatnot. Then again, how did the world get to this? Is it the fault of Kim Jong-un? Should we go and charge him? After all, we don't like his haircut. With us to discuss all these issues, we have Butch Valdez, who is the chair of Save the Nation movement. He was also on GNN. He's a TV host, he's a radio host, he's a journalist of sorts and a political analyst. We have with us for the first time the economist Alvendia, who's also with the CNG group, who's going to share with us a lot of his thoughts. After all, he did start the PMS, that's the Presidential Management Staff. He was also with the Technical Resource Center. So we've got a room full of the academe, the intellectuals, and wait, hang on, I'm not sure I'm part of that intellectuals. So -1. But here we go. Hi, Butch. Hi, Art. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
Sorry,
having us.
nadamay ka namin na we convinced you to go on TV. You're very prudent in your, wala kang ego, hindi gaya namin ni Butch. Wala kang ego namin, kaya namin lumabas. No, but where are we now? How come we've come to this? Last week, sinabi nila, baray na lang ang Facebook, sabi ni Po. But then again, the people are talking out. That's good, di ba? Ako nakikita ko the hate mail, the hate comments about UP, PUP. Kasi sa mga bata, when we were young, ganun din ang UP, remember? In 72, I remember the barricade. Yung tapunan ng Molotov cocktail, the military. That was right at the offset or the initiation of martial law. How did we get to this, Butch?
Well, I think it's natural, at least if you're young. No? When
To be
you're young,
rebellious.
you tend to be rebellious, right? You rebel against your parents. Your parents are actually
That's true too, isn't
trying
it?
to instill order, discipline you, and you try to figure out how you, but since they're your parents, you're
don't
not
question
able
them.
to protest. And then after we release our energy when we get to know a little about government. No? During the time of Marcos, no? I was one of those that went to the streets against him. No? Why?
Rebellious ka
Because
pala na.
it was vogue. It was vogue to go against him. We didn't know too much about what it was. But what ails us, even up to now, after saying that, after having said that it's natural for the young, no? The one that understood, it seems, what type of energy the young can generate, no? Are the communists.
After
And
all,
it is-
that's where they, dyan si Jose Maricison, di ba?
Right. But not only did they understand this, they prepared and started infiltrating the universities. No? And those that kept on graduating after that will go back to the universities
And do
and
the same.
continue the same. But government, by default, all of these other administrations that
Gave them
had
the
passed,
reason to fight,
not
to
only
protest.
that, did not inspire the youth,
Baliktad.
did not go into the universities and explain what patriotism is, love for country is. No one from government gave them the time, except the communists. No? And it is that makes it a problem now. No? Correct naman si President Duterte when he says he's against walking out. No, he's not against the protests. No? And that here he is doing his very best to try to give them free education. And
It's the first president that it's ever happened.
that's right, all the way up to college, and they just waste it by
Protesting.
protesting. Okay, and with the little knowledge, with the indoctrination coming from the left.
So tama yun na the more we know, the more really we do not know. And that keeps on going throughout life, not just being being kids. Art and I were talking about this some 2 weeks ago when we had a brief lunch. And I brought that up. Ano ba nangyari sa atin? How did we get to this and where we are now? I mean, ano yun? Kulang tayo sa pagmamahal or patriotism? Or are we just a group of people that are extremely cynical and we just complain about everything? Or has government given us the reason to protest? Because there's also that side, as you said. They did not do their part. I mean, I hate to say it, DepEd has failed. Miski papano. I mean, who is the Filipino? What is the Filipino? Are we the one tamad under that tree waiting for that fruit to fall? Are we the, I mean, parang kinukulang eh. Kinukulang tayo.
I think the problem is we tend to focus just on the leaders of the system.
Rather than the systems or the institutions.
Because what makes a country? You know? It's
people-
it's not just the leaders. It's not just the values. You have institutions that translate values into reality. You know? And you have
That's a nice way to put it.
Okay, and you've got unfortunately, and this we don't tend we tend to ignore and see. You know. we actually, we became independent, and we inherited, or it was imposed on us, the whole institutional system of the Americans. We presumed that just because it worked with them, it's going to work with us.
So democracy was ill-placed at the time, is what you're saying?
Democracy is, in principle, a good thing.
In principle,
In
but we
principle.
weren't necessarily ready.
Yeah, and you didn't have the mechanisms to make
Because of the
to make it
institutions.
happen, to make democratic impact happen. Because what happened? You had leaders who took over and really just worked together with the former colonizers, and continued the colonization.
Is it our fault? I mean, after all, we're almost all in the same age brackets. Is it our fault, the past, that the kids today are suffering our mistakes? Did we not do enough? It seems. I mean, I grew up with the Marcos era. I hate to say it, but until today, I look back, parang mas maganda ata ang patakbo ni Makoy. Yung isang malakas, isa lang matapang, isa lang iron. Tama yun eh. Kesa lahat sila nagbabakbakan eh. Because people forget, these kids that are on placards, they did not see the shooting in the streets every day. Di ba? In 1971, 1970, yung mga matatapang na politicians na papasok kung saan-saan, they weren't kings. They were all Kim Jong-uns of sorts. Di ba? They were gods with guns. Di ba? Is it our fault?
Well, in a way, I would say yes. No. Because who else do we point to except ourselves, right?
Time goes back.
We're the generation that, we're the baby boomer generation. And the younger generation is now about to take over leadership and the leadership of the country. No? Now, what is it that our generation did, no, that made it better so that they are actually inheriting a better nation? No? So there is a flaw in whatever we had done. No? You mentioned democracy. This is an abused term. No? It is like people use it like almost like a bogey or a
Freedom.
freedom and all
Yeah.
that. But
Liberalized
just
thinking,
Art was mentioning something about the United States. You know, what made the United States what it was, no? What it is even up to now, is a document called the Declaration of Independence. No? And then, on the basis of that Declaration of Independence, they came up with the Constitution. Now, in those two documents that they have, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, not a single time will you see the word democracy.
That's correct. It's not.
It's not there.
But democracy is just the template that it works under, the theory.
This is the democracy means actually making use of the majority rules, right?
Correct. That's
But
the
if
meaning.
you can control the development of that majority, no, then you're in a problem. No. If that so-called, in quotes, majority leads you, in quotes, majority, because these are manipulations, no?
Yes,
And you
manipulation.
use democracy as the
rule of the many.
the rule of the many.
When the many are actually incorrect because they're driven by a few.
Right. Yeah. This term that they also use, again, abuse, no? Vox populi, vox Dei.
Yes.
The voice of the people is
Yes.
the voice of God. Not necessarily. No? Just because you're the majority does not necessarily mean that you are saying you are the voice
Correct.
of God, right? That you're correct, right? As a matter of fact,
It's the other way around.
through all history, it's the minority that comes up with the truth.
You were saying, Art.
Yeah, actually, you were asking, are we to blame? And,
Yeah.
yeah, let's put it this way. We were educated by a system that, has given us this way of looking at reality. And as a result, we just keep on pursuing or follow the rules that are there. Take the word democracy, for example. You say freedom. Through democracy, we have freedom. But we don't distinguish between what's the real meaning of freedom anyway in our system, in the way we're operating. Okay? There are two concepts of freedom. One is freedom from constraint. That's what's ongoing now.
Sige, complex yan, but go ahead.
Okay.
Freedom from constraint. Sige,
Okay. The other definition of freedom is freedom from dominance. And these concepts can contradict each other in operation, in reality. And in fact, that is what has happened. We are now using the term freedom from constraint, and this has become now the license of the big capitalists to do as they please. Never mind what happens to the 99, and never mind if in the process they concentrate wealth, concentrate power, which are all contradictory to what the promises were of democracy.
Correct.
And
It's averse, yes.
yeah. But actually, if you look at the real context of, for example, slogans like level the playing field, it sounds nice, no? It's actually a slogan used by the big capitalists to privatize the economy, to make sure that government steps out of the way, there's no competition from them, because government is the equalizer, actually. But it has now been taken out of the picture because they're saying, hey, we got to be free from constraint. But
So, total freedom.
total freedom
Hindi
na.
pwede yun, ano? Laissez-faire, yeah, that's the system.
But you see, government is mandated to protect the people.
Yeah.
Mandated. That is why
That's why it exists.
Yes,
why
that's
it
why it
exists.
exists.
and then
And we're reducing its power.
the free marketers, the capitalists that Art is referring to, will say, no, there's no freedom in terms of business. No, the government must step aside and allow the market forces to play. And government must not protect its citizens. No. Then it has abdicated
Its major
its
role.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a school of thought of economists that are even sitting right now in the government. No? And that makes it dangerous because they are of that mindset. Here you are, you see the contradiction. Here you are as a president whose heart is for the people, who wants to protect the people in every which way
And it's
they're being
economists
exploited.
think
And yet,
otherwise.
its economists are not thinking of the people.
Yeah.
They're thinking
Yeah.
of this, and this is dangerous because the president, in a way, had abdicated his role
Yeah.
in directing the economy.
Pero miski siya, sinasabi niya, hindi naman siya economist.
Yun nga.
Yeah, but that's a real problem.
But that's why, so that means we need to have a president that's an economist.
No, not not necessarily. His common sense is better than the economics of his advisors right now.
Yes, because common sense is really what tells us that we have to integrate things and look at things as a whole.
For the good of the people.
For the good of the
Yes.
people. And the question you must ask is, whom does the system serve? That's the fundamental question. Not who has the power.
Right.
Not
I
for us to
mean,
buy.
this is more important.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to take a short break. I told you, Art is going to be so quick.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
fine.
started and you're already there. We're going to have to take a short break. I understand we might be a bit confusing, vague if necessary, but these are the issues that need to be asked other than the academic templates of question and answer, because this is what needs to be understood. Now, if this is what is being discussed in the academe, and these are the reasons why they are protesting, then maybe there are reasons, and there are probably good reasons to have to stand up to what is right. But then again, understanding that word freedom, ang hirap eh. Bakit? Wala ba akong freedom? Gusto ko magdura dito. I wanna be free. Tse! Ano mangyayari niyan? Hindi naman pwedeng gagawin mo, di ba? Parang ganun. Pangit ka. Dapat patayin kita kasi pangit ka eh. Who says pangit siya? Sino magsasabi gwapo ka? It doesn't work that way. I guess in a system where there is total chaos and tyranny, that would work. Problem is, we like to think we're civilized. Are we? We'll be right back. Stay with us.